Hi, this is a tutorial on some features on your Gmail inbox. So we all are used to clicking on the name or the email and reading the email, um, back and forth, reply, those sorts of things. So when I look at an email that I've clicked here, I get the normal. I can do my reply all, some of the forward messages, those things. But there are some shortcuts just directly from your inbox. So for example, if I right click, which on a Chromebook, if you are on, is a 2-finger click if you don't have a mouse, but if I right click on any email, it pulls up a quick access menu. And so I can actually then choose reply all, forward. One here that's interesting, I can do add to tasks, which we looked at in the last tutorial video, and it automatically adds it there and it tags that email there so I can refer back to that. So that's a pretty cool feature if you're going to be into using the tasks menu there. Or the to-do. I can also move that to any folders that I've created, or I can label it. And we'll look at the difference between folders and labels in just a second here to do those. I can also mute the person, meaning I don't receive emails from that person either. So that right-click feature is pretty cool directly inside of your inbox. Also, if I've got anything that has an attachment, say, for example, I open this attachment here, which is our flyer for the EdTech courses that you're in currently. A great feature built inside this is Save to Google Drive. And so I can come up here and I can either download this here inside of this. I can use my print menu, or I can come in here. Actually, I don't have my add to Google Drive right now because that's a file that I own. Let's try a file that I don't own. Here's a different file here about our summer activities. I get the add to my drive menu. So there's a unique feature. I can add that to my drive, and then I can organize that. I can add that by by folders where I want it to be. So that button right there, that quick add to drive or organize and drive button is really nice. Also, when you're inside of the email, if it has multiple attachments, you'll see inside the email where you can add all of the attachments at once, so you don't have to be able to do that all at once. We did briefly look at our labels there. Something that I want to look up here at the top for you, the difference between these two. Folders, this is the Move To button here. These folders are like traditional folders that we're used to, where I can actually take that email and I can move it over and store it into a folder. And so if I click on that folder, I have all these folders that I've made here with these different categories. If I don't have one yet for something in particular that I want, I can create a new folder, and it effectively makes a label there. So you'll see that word label. So this is a move to. That physically moves it to that folder / label. And what you'll have to, there's a slight difference in Gmail between a folder relatively and a label. If I move it to a folder, it disappears out of this inbox. If I click and I do just label it, it basically makes a photocopy of that email and puts it under that label, but it still stays in my inbox. So that's the difference between this Move To button and this Label button. So the other thing about the labels, I can come in and I can select multiple labels, and it will make copies in all of those folders, effectively storing that same email multiple times. This is a feature that Gmail added several years ago. So let's say, for example, I've got this email here from myself, and I want to go in and I want to make sure that it gets stored under, golf and basketball and CHS info, and then hit apply. It's actually going to take that email. So remember, we're on label, and it's going to label it, and you see it stays in my inbox, but it's now in those other labels as well. Versus if I take that email and I do Move To, and I move it to one of these. Let's say, for example, I move this to, we'll just say this address box. It actually disappears out of my inbox. And so that's the difference between those two things. Again, when I move it, it goes to that specific label, and it disappears out of the inbox. If I label it only, it makes copies and stays in my inbox. So depending on how you like your organization, that might be a useful feature as well. The last thing in my inbox here, over here is we have this chat window. And so this keeps track of Google Hangouts. So if your school uses Google Hangouts, you can access your chats and have your chats over here as well. And so that's also a useful feature for notifications. That is inbox features of Gmail.